When I was a kid, my whole identity was being like a smart kid, overachiever, top of the class, the smartest. That was my whole personality trait. And um yeah, like throughout secondary, I tried my hardest, even though I didn't speak the language when I moved to this country, England. I didn't know English. But I still managed to get really, really good grades that got me into a really, really good sixth form, which also got me into a really, really good uni, right? And then I got to uni, and what was that thing that Taylor Swift said? um I was so ahead of the curve, and the curve turned into a sphere or something. She said like that. Like I was doing, like I feel like I was so burnt out by the time I got to uni that like whatever motivation I had previously inherently had as a kid to want to overachieve completely depleted. And some things that I thought were easy for me, which was like really sit down and focus on my books and like to really put my head down and memorize and like read and like make sure I understand the topics. All of that was completely gone, right? So I had a big identity crisis in uni, I think, just because it was just so hard. Everything was so hard all of a sudden. And I thought that it was because I was like dumbing down. I'm like, am I becoming like a dumbass? Like, am I losing intelligence? Like, what's going on? Like, I made it this far. You know what I mean? All odds stacked against me, and it's like, why all of a sudden this is like the hardest thing ever? I dropped out eventually on my third year. That's how much of in denial I was about like me not being top of the class anymore. Like I really thought that I could do it. I really thought that. But like when you're burned out, you're burned out. You know what I mean? When you don't have the motivation anymore because of constant like years of straining yourself to like maintain this identity, um whilst everything else was happening in my life as a kid, and like everything, all the childhood trauma on top of that, and I was still trying to do good in school and be top of the class. Like, anyways, where am I going with all of this? What I'm going with all of this is that I really value intelligence, clearly. Um, and that's why it hurt me so much. Well, like that's why it like affected me so much, feeling like I wasn't that person anymore. And but I also really value like feeling okay and not feeling anxious and not feeling like worried all the time and depressed and stressed, which is basically like essentially like my base is anxiety. My base is worrying about something, knowing that I have a problem somewhere, somehow there's always something in my life. There's not been a single day in my life where I've been like, wow, like there's nothing going on, like I'm actually really happy. You know what I mean? So I've always craved that feeling. I've always craved that feeling, and I never realized truly how much I crave that feeling until I discovered smoking. Yeah, until I became a stoner, I never truly understood like, wow, like I never once had a feeling of like peace throughout my whole life. Not even as a child, because of how my childhood was. You know what I mean? So it's like these two things, like I have discovered peace, but I also really value like feeling like myself, like intelligent, like the person who I am. You know what I mean? I'm not an idiot by any means, but like the thing with weed, it makes me feel like an idiot. It does make me feel like I'm dumbing down because of the brain fog of not being able to find my sentences and express myself. and obviously the the forgetting, the memory loss, or like the lack of memory retention that comes with it as well. Um, all of these things, all of these factors, just makes me feel like I'm truly like becoming like a stupid person. Like I can't properly communicate myself and like convey what I really want to say and what's on my mind. So it's been such a struggle internally to like truly like balance, like put into balance, like what is it that I value more. Can I just say that I value both? I do value them both equally. I feel like I do, because otherwise I wouldn't have this much of a struggle. Like when I'm high and I'm at peace, I'm like, wow, like, oh my goodness, this is the peace that I've always craved as a kid. Maybe I don't say those exact words to myself, but that's how I feel. I'm like, damn, wow, peace. But then the more I do it, the more I don't know, the more I feel like I'm becoming stupid and I can't express myself. This is actually the fifth time I've tried to record this video because I keep like stuttering. I keep stumbling upon my words and not really knowing, like losing my train of thought. Another thing that really happens with smoking weed, like you just lose your train of thought all the time, and yeah, you just feel very silly. So, and I don't like feeling that way. And some may say like, okay, then just do it like in moderation, like don't be smoking every day, but that's another thing. I can't not smoke every day. Okay, put it into perspective, right? Like imagine, right? You are a starving person in the middle of nowhere, and like the only thing that you've ever been able to eat is like bugs. The only protein that you've only ever been able to consume is bugs and like raw animals that you can't even cook. I don't know. That's been your diet, just shit diet, but you've been surviving with that because it gives you something, enough to stay alive. And then all of a sudden, you discover this plant in the middle of this nowhere that gives you like all the food that you can ever have, ever, like your favorite foods. Like you didn't even know you had a favorite food because you never even experienced what good food is, you know? So it's like all of a sudden you go from eating bugs and like dead animals and shit that you can't even cook to like a burger, to like pizza, to like ice cream, to like just really good food. And that treat is there all the time. And the only thing that you need to do in order to access this treat is, I don't know, maybe like lose a little bit of hair here and there. Or I don't know, I'm trying to make this analogy as like accurate as possible, but like the reward somehow always outweighs like the cost. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like you spend your whole life not having any food, and all of a sudden you have unlimited food, but the cost is like something minimal. You always are going to be drawn to want to eat from, like, who's going to be like, I'm going to go back to eating bugs after I've experienced this treat? Like, no. Like, you're going to want to eat from the tree always, if all it takes is like, I don't know, a little bit of like hair loss here and there. Your hair still grows back, but a little bit of memory loss, a little bit of like um brain fog. But hey, all this food forever and ever. Like, how do you see how hard it is to fucking say no to that? So that's my problem. That's my problem. But maybe like you are a person in the middle of nowhere who really values their hair, you know, and You've always been known to have really long hair and really luscious before, and then all of a sudden, because you're eating from this plant, your hair is like dry and brittle. But like, if you stop eating from this plant, your hair will be back to normal. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just hard. I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm making no sense clearly because I'm withdrawing. And I'm really craving things. But yeah, that was a whole lot of nothing. I know, but that's what's in my head. That was in my head. And there you go. See ya.